Good morning, I'm Sarah James, and this is NBC Nightside. 20 years after the Vietnam War, questions about the fate of missing U.S. servicemen remain an emotional and volatile issue. NBC correspondent John Scott reports that some American POWs may have been alive as recently as 1988.
This photograph was taken by a CIA spy satellite over northern Laos in 1988. It shows what some Pentagon search and rescue experts say could be a Vietnam-era distress symbol. The letters USA are clear. The question is whether the markings below resemble a secret military distress code known as the Walking K.
These symbols worked, and there's evidence that they have shown up since 1973, between 1973 and even now.
The Air Force agency, which trained pilots on escape and evasion techniques, reviewed the spy satellite picture last summer. Its conclusion, quote, the K and the USA should be considered valid ground signals until proven otherwise. But in recent days, the Defense Department has reconsidered the photographic evidence.
Right now, there is we don't know what it is. There's disagreement as to whether it's a K, whether it's man-made, and so forth.
Congressional investigators will be examining this and other recent intelligence reports over the next few weeks. But so far, they say they have found nothing that proves American POWs are still alive in Southeast Asia. John Scott, NBC News, New York.
Bill Clinton is the leading man in two new presidential polls. An NBC News poll shows Clinton ahead with 46% to President Bush's 32%. Independent Ross Perot is lagging behind with 10% of the vote. 12% remain uncommitted. A CNN USA Today poll released Tuesday is strikingly similar. Clinton is up front again with 46%. The president is a little closer in this poll with 36% of the vote, and Perot again last with 10%. During a 30-minute commercial on CBS Tuesday night, Ross Perot said that our nation's children will end up paying the price for our mounting national debt.
Together we can pass on the American dream to our children. Can you think of anything more important than your children? Look at them tonight before you go to bed. Your hopes and dreams are all wrapped up in them. They are our future. Let's just link arms and go do it for them.
Perot is bypassing traditional campaign appearances in favor of expensive TV spots. He will appear again Friday night on ABC. The House of Representatives adjourned for the year Tuesday, but it looks like the Senate will prolong the 102nd Congress until at least Thursday. Plans had called for a recess at dusk in honor of the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur. But as the sun set, Senate leaders continued to work, trying to finish up business. One of the pending measures is a $27 billion tax bill already approved by the House. Last month, we told you how budget problems might force Chicago's public high schools to cut sports and other extracurricular activities. But school teams will soon hit the fields and the courts. Officials say the corporations have come through with contributions showing that the city has a big heart. In business news, the government is stepping up its inspection of U.S. Air's maintenance operations. With that and Tuesday's numbers from Wall Street, here's CNBC's Dean Shepard.
Stock prices were little changed Tuesday as the market stabilized after a wild plunge in the previous session. Investors were closely watching the market for signs that the Federal Reserve would cut interest rates to encourage economic growth. The Fed's key policymaking committee was meeting Tuesday in Washington, and a rate cut was expected by some analysts after that gathering, but no rate cut emerged, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average finished with a loss of just shy of a point at 31.78. In corporate news, Texaco Limited says it will relocate its headquarters to London's Canary Wharf, the troubled office complex developed by Olympia and York. Texaco had been scheduled to move 1,000 employees there back in August, but postponed the move after Canary Wharf asked for bankruptcy protection. The company says it signed a lease with a purchase option on a 230,000 square foot building in the development and would rent 30,000 square feet in another building as well. The government is stepping up its inspections of U.S. Air's maintenance operations. The airline is managing to get the majority of its flights into the air despite a strike by machinists, but the FAA is making the extra inspections for what it calls precautionary reasons. This is the first strike in U.S. Air's 13-year history. That's a look at business news. I'm Dean Shepard for Nightside.
Coming up next, creating the world's largest free trade zone is getting closer to a reality, and later, sexual harassment in the workplace. those of you just joining us, good morning. I'm Sarah James, and this is NBC Nightside. Here are the headlines at 35 minutes past the hour. Congressional investigators are preparing to investigate evidence that American POWs were still alive in Southeast Asia, possibly as recently as 1988. A photograph taken by a CIA spy plane over northern Laos in 1988 shows what some search and rescue experts say is a Vietnam-era distress symbol. Governor Bill Clinton continues to ride high in the polls in two new surveys out this morning, one by NBC and one by CNN and USA Today, show Clinton holding a significant lead over President Bush. Ross Perot hopes to pick up votes with his television blitz. Perot spent $380,000 for a 30-minute campaign ad that aired last night. Nightside returns with more after this.
Las Vegas Holiday Magic. Excalibur Hotel Casino, Las Vegas. Winter price from $29 for most midweek dates this November and December. Escape to perfect Las Vegas weather. Phone 1-800-937-7777 and make your reservations now. Excalibur, a magical holiday adventure.
Alpha Hydrox Skin Treatment. Without the irritating side effects of certain expensive skin products. Alpha Hydrox gently removes dead and dulling skin. Alpha hydroxy acids, recognized by dermatologists for their anti-aging effect, appear to diminish wrinkles and skin discolorations, revitalizing your skin, revealing a younger, more radiant-looking you. Alpha Hydrox is available at drug, discount, and grocery stores. Alpha Hydrox, the triumph of nature over time.
With the savagery continuing in what was Yugoslavia, world leaders are striving to put an end to the war crimes. On Tuesday, the UN Security Council voted unanimously to establish an investigative commission. The commission will look into reports of massacres, so-called ethnic cleansing, and other crimes against civilians in the former Yugoslav republics. The move could lead to Nuremberg-style war crimes trials. A special envoy is to travel to Bosnia, Croatia, and other areas beginning on Monday. President Bush will meet his Mexican and Canadian counterparts in San Antonio today to discuss how their nations can quickly ratify a free trade agreement. Canadian Prime Minister Brian Mulroney is already in San Antonio. Like the U.S. Congress, the Canadian Parliament still needs to give the free trade agreement final approval. The question is whether that's going to happen.
The only thing the Canadians agree on fully, without any, not the slightest degree of disagreement, is that they in their full and unwavering support of their Prime Minister.
If passed, the trade agreement would create the world's largest free trade area. Jerry Brown now has a look at the forecast.
Well, good morning, and a very active weather morning it is out west. First mountain snowstorm in the Rockies. That'll be spreading snow up into the Black Hills of South Dakota. Meanwhile, the clear skies prevailing out west. Very cold air on the backside of that storm as it moves east, 40s and 50s over the northern plains. Still very mild, though, out in the Pacific Northwest, and actually some record heat over parts of California. All that sun out west and lots of sunshine back east ahead of this frontal system. High pressure dominating. Little frontal system over Florida, partly cloudy, 82 in Orlando, to about 87, partly cloudy or partly sunny in San Antonio. 70 with the sun in Atlanta, about the same reading in Chicago, and rather coolish from Washington, D.C. up to Boston, temperatures ranging in the 60s. But as I said, lots of sunshine. Out west, a whole different story, at least in the Midwest. 45 to 50 degrees from Bismarck over to Minneapolis, around 46 in North Platte as that snow moves up to the northeast, mixing with the rain. 62 in Amarillo, but that's an 18-degree drop from yesterday. Coolish from Salt Lake up to Great Falls, but the record heat in San Francisco and about 90 at the Civic Center in L.A. Lots of sunshine over California. That'll hold up at Puget Sound in Seattle as well. Have a great day. I'm Jerry Brown for NBC Nightside.
3 people were hurt when a small bomb hidden in a trash can exploded early this morning in central London. Scotland Yard's anti-terrorist division is investigating the blast off Haymarket, one of the city's main thoroughfares. Someone telephoned a warning to a local radio station 35 minutes before the explosion, saying there was a bomb, but not saying where. So far, no one has claimed responsibility for the blast. Coming up in further on Nightside, we'll see if women's work lives have changed following the Clarence Thomas hearings. And in sports, the National League Championship Series is underway.
In business, a lot can happen. If you want to keep up every week, you have a choice. Not Forbes, not Fortune. You can read Business Week, or you can read a week of the Wall Street Journal. Either way, you'll find out all you need to know. The question is, how much time are you willing to spend in the process? Business Week is designed for busy people. One look at the cover and you'll know exactly where to turn inside. A quick scan of the contents page and you'll have all the events of the week that interest you. Business Week does more than inform. It entertains. With stories that are compellingly told in both words and pictures. If you want to keep up with what's going on out there every week all year long, there's more than one way to go about it. The choice is yours.
Now is the time to subscribe to Business Week, because right now you can get 28 issues of Business Week for the low rate of $24.95, a savings of more than 64% off the cover price. It's all the business news you need every week, the kind of value real success is built on. And with your paid subscription, Business Week will send you the compact data bank, absolutely free. The data bank is more than a calculator. It also stores all your important phone numbers and doubles as a digital clock. Remember, it's free with your paid subscription to Business Week. Here's how to subscribe.
Subscribe today and get all the week's business news delivered to your home or office. Just call 1-800-328-1800 and we'll send you 28 issues of Business Week for only $24.95. That's just 89 cents an issue. This low rate saves you $45 off the cover price. The data bank is free with your paid subscription. That number again is 1-800-328-1800. Call now.
1 year ago this week, lots of us stared at our TV sets for hours as Anita Hill accused Supreme Court nominee Clarence Thomas of sexual harassment.
Hill told a U.S. Senate committee that the harassment occurred when she worked for Thomas at the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. The Today Show's Katie Couric had an exclusive interview with Professor Hill.
I never dreamed that this would happen. And quite frankly, I don't think that I would have ever done anything deliberately to allow this to happen to my life.
Anita Hill may never have expected what was ahead, but her allegations of sexual harassment against Clarence Thomas had a profound effect upon her and the nation.
He spoke about acts that he had seen in pornographic films involving such matters as women having sex with animals and films showing group sex or rape scenes.
As far as I'm concerned, it is a high-tech lynching for uppity blacks who in any way deign to think for themselves.
Immediately following the hearings, an NBC News Wall Street Journal poll showed that most people believe Thomas by a margin of nearly 2-1. But a similar poll taken last month shows public sentiment has changed. Now more people believe Hill was telling the truth.
Why do you think there was such a turnaround? I think people are just becoming more knowledgeable and aware. And I think people have just become more thoughtful about the hearings and about the issue itself, and less distracted by the theories that were just spun out of nothing.
1 year later, some members of the Senate Judiciary Committee are critical of their performance.
Certainly the committee could have done better, and I think individually, I think all of us feel that we could have done better.
Pennsylvania Senator Arlen Specter, who accused Hill of perjury, has recently acknowledged it was a learning experience and says he sympathizes with women in Professor Hill's position.
I am skeptical. He is seeking re-election, and I am skeptical. I'm not convinced that given the vigor with which he undertook his role during those hearings, that he has truly had a raised awareness.
1 year later, no regrets.
Only in my most selfish moments do I want for things to go back. And when I think of what has happened in a larger sense, beyond myself, then I would not change anything. I could not change what has happened.
Katie Couric, NBC News, Oklahoma City.
The effect of the Thomas Hill hearings went well beyond helping decide whether Thomas would sit on the Supreme Court. A national dialogue on sexual harassment and its place in our lives quickly followed. NBC's Bob Dotson takes a look at the issue today.
Bonnie Boozer tripled sales in her North Georgia territory. One night, she says, her boss had other figures in mind.
He threw his money clip, tossed his money clip at me and told me that if I would dance and strip, that I could have what was in the money clip.
Boozer decided to go public, inspired by Anita Hill's cool courage.
That was not a date.
During those hearings, sexual harassment complaints jumped 48%.
Was it the same man?
Some months, they are still nearly double what they were a year ago.
And if you believed Anita Hill or not, at least you may now be aware that it's a situation that must be handled.
The Thomas Hill debate changed the workplace. Corporations began educating their employees.
But the behavior that might be appropriate and fun here can be unacceptable and cause a lot of trouble here.
Nearly half the businesses in this country now have sexual harassment policies.
I think that Anita Hill made companies sit up and realize that it is important. It can be a very detrimental thing to your business if you have a harassing situation.
That's because they could lose their shirt in court. The hearings helped push through new civil rights legislation. Victims can now collect up to $300,000 in damages and, for the first time, get a trial by jury. But winning is still difficult. Bonnie Boozer had to find a new job. Her boss was never cited. Her case was given to a federal investigator who himself had been demoted for sexual harassment.
That's the fox guarding the hen house as far as I'm concerned.
So, like Anita Hill, she took a stand. She hasn't heard from that investigator in nearly a year. Less than 1% of these complaints ever go to court. Bob Dotson, NBC News, Atlanta.
Stay with us.
Nightside will be back right after this.
The following contains important information for veterans, their spouses, and widows aged 50 to 75.
Lottery tickets. We never missed a week. My husband and I used to sit around dreaming how we'd spend it all. We knew the odds were ridiculous, but it's only a couple of bucks a week, and it was fun. And then Ron died about 6 months ago, and I found out we didn't have enough life insurance. I had no idea how much funeral and legal fees would be. I owed over $6,000. Turns out we could have easily afforded extra life insurance for the price of a couple of these.
If you're a veteran age 50 to 75 or the spouse or widow of a veteran, you can afford life insurance. Because Veterans Life Insurance Company offers term life policies for as little as $1 a week. If you served in wartime, peacetime, active, or reserves, call this toll-free number for free information about $1-a-week life insurance just for veterans, their spouses, and widows.
I learned about life insurance the hard way. Now I have my own policy from Veterans Life. $1 a week, I don't even miss it. And I feel really good knowing that someday my kids won't have to go through what I just did.
Call now for free information. There's no medical exam, no waiting period, and your benefits never go down. You'll also get free membership in the Veterans Discount Prescription and Vision Care plans that can save you up to 60% on medications and eyeglasses.
For $1 a week, I can't afford not to have Veterans Life Insurance. Oh, I still buy an occasional lottery ticket, but now I know I have something that'll pay off in the future.
Call 1-800-628-1100 right now for free information about $1-a-week life insurance from Veterans Life Insurance Company. Operators are standing by. Call 1-800-628-1100. $1 a week now is all it takes to help give your family financial security later.
Mark Barger's Hero Sports. The Braves already got a jump on the Pirates as the playoffs started today.
That's right. Hoped having John
last night.
That's right.
One of those things.
Yeah, one of those things.
It's confusing around here.
Well, especially considering they're going to be playing again in just a few hours. They'll be playing Game 2 this afternoon. One of the few good things that the Pirates can say about last night, though, is that they scored, breaking a 29-inning postseason scoreless streak. Trouble for Pittsburgh is they didn't score enough. Pirate starter Doug Drabek had a tough night against the Braves, failing to make it out of the 5th inning. Jeff Blauser reaches him here for a solo homer, in the 5th to make it 4-0 Braves. Now, Pittsburgh's only run came in the 8th on a solo homer by Jose Lind. That was one of just 4 hits that John Smoltz surrendered. He was hot in the cool Atlanta temperatures, raising his playoff record to 3-0 as the Braves cruised in Game 1. Final score 5-1.
I much prefer pitching in cold weather, and that's just the situation. If I could have it every time, it'd be 40 or 50 degrees because I grew up in Michigan, so I'm used to it, so I take it to my advantage.
Game 2 for those two teams will be later this afternoon, and then this evening, the Toronto Blue Jays and Oakland A's will lace it up for Game 1 of the American League Championship Series. The A's are gunning for their 4th American League pennant in 5 years.
Most excited time of the year. This reminds you when you was a kid, you had no worries. You just went out and just wall in the dirt, just hit the ball crazy, run around the field, and just enjoy yourself. You didn't really worry about what would happen at the end. You just wanted to have fun, and I think this is the time and the stage that you should just have fun.
Elsewhere in baseball, there will be a new manager in the Cincinnati Reds dugout next season. Lou Piniella announced yesterday he will not be back for a 4th season with the team. Piniella led the Red Machine to a World Championship in 1990. His 1992 squad finished 2nd to the Atlanta Braves. He was involved in this locker room scuffle with pitcher Rob Dibble late in the season, but Piniella says he enjoyed his experience in Cincinnati.
It was a good 3 years. It was a good 3 years, and it was a good experience. I made some friends. I enjoyed the town.
Meantime, the National Hockey League reopened for business last night. Defending champion Pittsburgh took on Philadelphia and their new young star, Eric Lindros. But it was a veteran who swiped the spotlight early. Mario Lemieux scoring less than 1 minute into the game for the defending Stanley Cup champs. Lindros got his first career goal in the 3rd, and the game ended in a 3-all tie. Elsewhere in the National Hockey League, the Caps beat the Maple Leafs. Montreal won. The Jersey Devils beat the Islanders. Again, it was the Flyers and Penguins fighting to a tie. The Jets topped the Red Wings, the Blues over the North Stars. The Kings in overtime beat the Flames, and the Canucks were 5-4 winners over the Oilers. NBA news, the Miami Heat signed first-round draft choice Harold Miner to a 5-year deal Tuesday. Miner was the 12th player selected in June's draft. The USC All-American is a big-time scoring threat, averaged 26 points a game last season, and he will be in camp Friday. But a couple of guys still waiting to sign, Christian Laettner and Alonzo Mourning, for their respective teams.
And Shaquille O'Neal is going to be a very rich man next year.
Yes, and he'll be practicing later this week.
We'll be back with more of Nightside.
You get to make a lot of great choices in life. What to wear, what to eat, what to drink, what to read, and what to watch at 4 o'clock. Sure, Oprah is good, but now Donahue has moved to Channel 13, and that means you have a choice. Donahue, the king of talk for over 25 years, every weekday afternoon at 4 o'clock on 13 WTHR. Now there really is a choice.
The homeless, family violence, alcohol and drug abuse.
We were notified by a hospital about a baby that was born with fetal alcohol syndrome. We placed Tyler with the Smiths when he was just a few days old.
All we can do is love Tyler and nurture him, which that's what we're going to do, and that's what we've done from day one.
The United Way, helping over 200,000 Hoosiers make a better life. They need you now. Please give.
Good morning, I'm Tom Cochran. Here's what's making news this Wednesday. She is described by her superiors as a good officer, an asset to the department. But what Corporal Linda Kane wants to be called is Sergeant. Kevin Rader with the story from Greenfield.
Corporal Linda Kane has been in the Greenfield Police Department for 9 years. She loves the city and her job, with one exception. She says she's a victim of sexual discrimination. Kane was passed over for promotion in May of '91 because of seniority.
Here it is a year later, and you know, they take 2 other males again. Well, I'm sorry, I can't hardly accept that.
This time, the lone woman of the Greenfield Police Department was passed over because of leadership.
Time and time again, it seems as though I have to prove myself to this department, and I don't think that I should have to when the others don't.
Kane has filed complaints with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, but has yet to receive an answer. The EEOC has a standard policy of not commenting on any complaints after they've already been filed. But normally, the department can process a complaint in some 6 to 7 months. That's not the case now, however. A backlog of some 1,800 cases has the department overwhelmed.
It's like the good old boy center.
Kane's complaint that the department is without promotional guidelines has support.
There's no criteria set down for promotional standards of what you have to, how many years, what qualifications you need. It's just who they feel they want at the time.
Chief of Police Darrell Davis was out of town and unavailable for comment.
Greenfield Mayor Keith McLarnon says that Kane is a good officer and he expects her to become a sergeant or lieutenant one day. For Nightside, I'm Tom Cochran. Join the Sunrise team at 6 for all the overnight developments. Have a good Wednesday.
I don't think everyone is aware of the fact that they can make very minor changes in their lifestyle, which can collectively have an enormous impact on the quality of our environment.
News Center 13 shares your concern about the environment. That's why Chris Prophet presents special reports that show what each of us can do to clean things up. And when we all do our part, we collectively work together to make this a cleaner world. News Center 13, working together for you.
Hi, this is Bob Gregory. It's that time of year again. Time to get out the coats. We'd like you to help us warm up a kid's winter this year by donating to Coats for Kids. If your youngsters have outgrown their coats, we know thousands of kids that need them this year. We especially need coats for small children and infants. Drop off your coats at any Tuckman Cleaners until October the 18th. All coats will be cleaned and made ready for distribution. So give to Coats for Kids. By working together, we can warm up a kid's winter again this year.
When spot news happens, people want information immediately. It is oftentimes the most difficult of circumstances to work under, and I think that's one thing that gives Channel 13 an advantage. Anybody can get to a story quickly and put it on the air, but not everybody can give it to you in a calm, professional manner, and I think that's part of our reputation.
We are in a time where information is power. On the street, that's what gives you the edge, and there is no faster way to get information than from Channel 13 News.
News Center 13, working together for you.
Despite all the warnings about high blood cholesterol, some people are oblivious to its dangers. Dangers like a heart attack. Have a doctor check your cholesterol level, and if it's high, learn what to do about it. Life has enough risks.
Remember that old adage that you don't know a person until you've walked a mile in their shoes?
Well, some design students in Oregon found out just how true that expression is, especially if the person is disabled. Ann Jagger has more.
You want to get into the bathroom, go downstairs, or buy a cup of coffee. But if you're disabled, in a wheelchair, or blind, there are obstacles at every turn. These able-bodied architecture students found that out. This field trip is designed to show them how to figure out all the angles while keeping people in mind.
Definitely make a lot larger stall, put more bars all the way around.
You feel for the chair. You put her hand on the chair, on the back of the chair.
The students tested a new law, the Americans with Disabilities Act. Laws that lay down the minimum standards for architectural design in public places.
Minimum is minimum. And so what I'm trying to do is get the students to understand that minimum is adequate, but depending on the use of the building, sometimes you want more than minimum.
The doorways were hard for me to figure out, hard for me to get close to, and then once I was close enough, where are the handles? I don't know exactly how you would correct that.
I would try to put more acoustical things in so that I wasn't being bombarded by so many sounds.
It was just very tight, and it's very difficult to maneuver, and there are lots and lots of sharp corners.
A wheelchair and a blindfold allowed these students to see interior design in a whole new way. Ann Jagger for NBC News.
Sorry, you've been involved in one of these programs?
In a lot of cities, they give you an opportunity to participate, and I wore a blindfold for a day, and it really is remarkable how you notice things like this when you do that. This is NBC Nightside, a production of NBC News Channel, Charlotte, North Carolina.
morning. I'm Antonio Mora, and this is NBC Nightside. Outraged over the atrocities in what was Yugoslavia, the United Nations has established a commission to investigate war crimes. The UN Security Council's unanimous vote could lead to Nuremberg-style war crimes like those that took place after World War II. UN reports say that every group involved in the conflict, Serbs, Croats, and Muslims, has committed savage acts. However, most reports have focused on the Serbs as the main aggressors in Bosnia's civil war. The UN decision comes on the heels of a major advance by Serb forces in northern Bosnia. The Serbs seized the town of Bosanski Brod, the last town held by Croats and Muslims in that area. The Serb victory gives them a direct territorial link to Serb-held areas of Croatia. They now also control two-thirds of Bosnia. What is making matters even worse for the victims of the Bosnian Civil War is the onset of chilly weather as winter approaches. The lack of heating fuel, food, and materials to repair war-damaged homes is expected to pose serious problems. There is virtually no gas, water, or electricity. The mystery behind some missing pages of an old passport of Bill Clinton's are turning into a political bonanza for President Bush. In response to a Newsweek report, President Bush suggested that the missing pages may be tied to Clinton's 1970 trip to the Soviet Union. So far, State Department officials refuse to comment. How many new questions will this latest riddle raise about Clinton's character? Sandy Gilmore reports.
Governor Clinton was elated by several polls showing him way ahead of President Bush. But now a new problem, a strange report in Newsweek that part of Clinton's passport record in the State Department has gone missing. The department won't comment. Could it have anything to do with Clinton's 1970 travel as a student to the Soviet Union and other countries? Clinton's trip to the USSR has forced him to deny far-right accusations he was a dupe for the KGB or was looking for asylum from the draft.
You were going to change your citizenship to avoid service in Vietnam. You flat out said that's not true.
That's ridiculous. In a taped appearance on the Phil Donahue Show, Clinton said he spent his trip in Moscow alone, including on New Year's Eve, with no agenda, just a curious student. He denied he was more involved in overseas anti-war activity as a student than he's let on in newspaper interviews, saying at one point he had no recollection of one event called the March on Death.
You drew a conclusion that I had somehow tried to have it both ways on the Vietnam War. That's a load of bull.
The Bush campaign hopes it has another issue where Bill Clinton will be seen as hedging on another slowly evolving story. Trailing badly in the polls, Bush could use the help. Sandy Gilmore, NBC News, the White House.
Billionaire Ross Perot used 30 minutes of primetime TV last night to take aim at his presidential rivals in what was, in effect, his first campaign ad since officially entering the White House sweepstakes last week. Perot warned that the U.S. has no strategy for the future. He mixed dozens of charts with homespun oratory, appealing for support in his independent presidential bid.
The green is the debt we had in 1980. The red is the debt that has been incurred in the last 12 years. We've had an enormous growth in debt, and we don't have anything to show for it.
Now for a look at business news, here's CNBC's Dean Shepard.
All eyes on Wall Street Tuesday were focused on the Federal Open Market Committee meeting in Washington. Traders generally believed the policy-making arm of the Federal Reserve would vote to lower interest rates, especially in light of Monday's sharp intraday drop in the Dow Industrials. But there have been no such signals from the FOMC so far, so traders are turning their hopes to Wednesday. On Wall Street, the stock market managed to hold its ground despite the lack of a Fed easing and Monday's steep decline. The Dow finished the session virtually unchanged at 3178. The bidding war for bankrupt Continental Airlines is heating up again. Aeromexico, Mexico's leading airline, has agreed to take part in a revised $400 million offer from a group led by corporate raider Charles Hurwitz. Aeromexico's bid marks the fifth such offer. And plane maker Boeing is advising airlines who fly its 747 jumbo jets to inspect the pins holding the engines to the wings. News of that warning follows the weekend disaster in which an El Al Boeing 747 lost two engines and plowed into a Dutch apartment building. Ironically, a Swiss air official says Boeing had warned the airlines of possible engine mount problems even before the Amsterdam disaster. That's a look at business news. I'm Dean Shepard for Nightside.
Coming up on Nightside, will federal judges be allowed to stop blockades of abortion clinics? That question is before the Supreme Court. To those of you just joining us, good morning. I'm Antonio Mora, and this is NBC Nightside. Here are this morning's top stories at 5 minutes past the hour. Serb fighters have dealt Bosnian defenders a heavy blow by capturing the northern border city of Bosanski Brod. This means the Serbs have established a land corridor from Bosnia to areas that they hold in Croatia. The UN Security Council has created a war crimes commission to investigate reports of atrocities in the former Yugoslav republics. And independent candidate Ross Perot turned up the heat in the presidential race. Perot's campaign aired a 30-minute commercial on CBS last night. In his television message, he asked voters to help him clean up the mess in Washington. Those are the headlines. Nightside returns after this.
State finals coming up. A lot of pressure to win. I don't eat right, I get irregular, so I don't project a winning attitude, and the boys see that. I tried some natural bulk fiber, but I couldn't take all that grit. Then I discovered Sunrise Smooth Metamucil. No grit in the mix or the taste. Easy to get the extra fiber I need every day to stay regular. You got a winning attitude, you win, if you're lucky.
Metamucil, and you could stay regular for the rest of your life.
Alpha Hydrox Skin Treatment. Without the irritating side effects of certain expensive skin products. Alpha Hydrox gently removes dead and dulling skin. Alpha hydroxy acids, recognized by dermatologists for their anti-aging effect, appear to diminish wrinkles and skin discolorations, revitalizing your skin, revealing a younger, more radiant-looking you. Alpha Hydrox is available at drug, discount, and grocery stores. Alpha Hydrox, the triumph of nature over time.
Members of the House of Representatives have called it a year. The House adjourned Tuesday after passing a disputed $27 billion tax bill. However, the Senate remains deadlocked over the same legislation. Senate leaders say they could stay in session until at least Thursday. The U.S. Supreme Court is being asked to decide whether federal judges should be the ones to determine whether to stop blockades at abortion clinics. The Bush administration says that it should be a job for state courts, but a lawyer for clinic owners says federal judges are needed to protect women.
This case presents an opportunity for the court to rule for women's civil rights. Today, throughout America, angry, violent mobs block women who try to enter abortion clinics.
The court's decision is expected sometime next year. Some 15,000 striking city workers in Philadelphia are back on the job this morning. The union and city negotiators struck a tentative deal Tuesday, just 14 hours after a walkout that threatened to derail Philadelphia's financial recovery. The agreement with the city gives workers more job security and a promise not to take away certain pension benefits. It's day 3 of the machinist strike at U.S. Air. Company and union negotiators made little progress during talks Tuesday, but they did agree to meet again today. The strike initially forced the cancellation of 40% of U.S. Air's flights. Take a look now at the weather. Here's Jerry Brown.
Well, good morning. Starry skies back east, but what you're looking at here is the first mountain snowstorm of the season, spreading the white stuff from the Rockies up to the Black Hills of South Dakota. Very cold air on the backside, 40s and 50s for afternoon highs this afternoon, and a tad cool back east as well. 60s predominating from New England through the mid-Atlantic, well into the southern states, 70s, and the warmer air lingering down along the Gulf Coast and across Florida. Partly cloudy skies from Florida along a frontal system over to southern Texas, about 87 in San Antonio, low 80s in Orlando and also New Orleans. Lots of cool sunshine to the north, though. 63 in Boston to the upper 60s in Washington, D.C. Right around 70 degrees with the sun on the shores of Lake Michigan and Chicago, also down in Atlanta. But here's your big weather maker. There's that white stuff on the back side of it. Only 45 to 50 from Bismarck, Minneapolis, a wet day down to North Platte. 62 in Amarillo, but they were 80 yesterday. Meanwhile, on the other side of the coin, 92 in San Francisco. That should be a record. 90 at the Civic Center in L.A. In Seattle, you're looking at sunshine and about 70 degrees this afternoon after that morning fog burns off. Have yourself a great day. I'm Jerry Brown for NBC Nightside.
One of the world's great character actors, Denholm Elliott, has died. The British actor passed away Tuesday in Ibiza of AIDS-related tuberculosis. He appeared in movies as diverse as A Room with a View, Trading Places, and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Elliott was 70. Coming up on Nightside, presidential debates. Sometimes they hold the key to the White House. And later in sports, the Braves and Pirates battle for a World Series spot. Mark Barger will have the highlights.
I see it over and over. Stupid little kitchen fires that take out people's houses.
Fire's where they lose everything. Fire's where not everybody got out. What I don't see why you're sitting in a house without a fire extinguisher. You got a smoke detector? Great, but you got to get a fire extinguisher too.
Smoke detectors and fire extinguishers from First Alert, a warning and a weapon.
You have a fire, what are you going to say? They cost too much? I was too busy?
There's something you should know that no broker is going to tell you. You can use dividend reinvestment plans to invest directly in companies and bypass brokers entirely. I'm not telling you this so you can avoid brokers' commissions. It's just so you'll know that even a small investor can have a diversified portfolio. You can invest in companies from Abbott Labs to Zurn, and every penny will go toward buying stock. You are the only one to benefit from your investment.
Call now. Finally available under one cover, every company with a dividend reinvestment plan and everything you need to get started investing. All for only $9. Plus, you get a free copy of The Money Paper, the monthly guide for the self-reliant investor.
Remember, it's easy to buy stock without using a stockbroker.
Call 800-245-6868 with your Visa or MasterCard handy. This information-packed source book could save you thousands in broker's commissions and improve your investment results.
The telephone is one of your most important business tools. But on the road, are you always hanging around waiting for messages? Now freedom can be in the palm of your hand, because now there's Mobilecom nationwide messaging. It's America's most complete paging service. Mobilecom gives you more coverage coast to coast, customized regional coverage, and text messaging. So don't get hung up waiting on messages. Get Mobilecom nationwide messaging. Just call 1-800-795-5555.
President Bush and Bill Clinton will face one another Sunday in the first presidential debate of the '92 campaign, and it is expected that Ross Perot also will join the fray.
Well, there's one thing we can be certain of is that they'll have a very big audience on Sunday night. As Nightside correspondent Bruce Hall reports, debates of the past have both helped and hurt the candidates' chances.
Jack Kennedy was a friend of mine. Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
The debates have been called television's version of hand-to-hand combat, but they can also be the key to winning the presidency. They get people's attention. In most election years, more people watch the debates than vote. 3 living former presidents believe they have become part of the fabric of the political system and should be mandated.
I'm inclined to lean that way, yes, because, and they could be in different formats than maybe we've had in the past, but the contest is finally there before people, that the people have a right to know all they can in comparison to make a decision. But if the debate is concentrated then on the major issues and the views of the 2 individuals on those issues, then it is of service to the people.
And I think it would be very good to set up this sort of thing, maybe with a responsible, objective, fair, unbiased kind of sponsorship, and then take all the guesswork out of it.
But I've always believed that whether you're a challenger or an incumbent, you ought to be willing to face your opponent face to face and let the public make its own choice.
All 3 agree the stakes are enormous. The chances of a mistake are high. Those mistakes can range from appearance errors, such as Richard Nixon's 5 o'clock shadow and perspiration, to substance errors, such as Gerald Ford's insistence that Poland was free of Soviet domination.
When you're in a ball game, whether it's on the gridiron or in politics, you can't hit a home run all the time. You have to look at the overall. So even despite the problem in the second debate about my comments on Poland, I felt that I had, in the 3 debates put together, had come out helpfully to my campaign, and I had no regrets at any time.
But Jimmy Carter said that as the challenger, he went into that debate with trepidation.
And I had done my background work. I was familiar with the issues, but I would say that it was one of the most difficult challenges that I had ever faced in my life, to be appearing before 70 to 100 million people on the same level with the president, yes.
The unpredictable usually happens during the debates. The best example? 1976.
The pooled audio from the Walnut Street Theater in Philadelphia has been lost.
For 28 minutes, Gerald Ford and Jimmy Carter just stood there, not moving, each trying to act presidential.
I watched the tape afterwards, and it was embarrassing to me that both President Ford and I stood there almost like robots. We didn't move around. We didn't walk over and shake hands with each other. We just stood there.
I suspect both of us would have liked to sit down and relax while the technicians were fixing the system. But I also think both of us were hesitant to make any gesture that might look like we weren't physically or mentally able to handle a problem like this.
Even with the mishaps, Ronald Reagan says you must maintain your strategy.
When I believed that I had a program, that I wasn't just going in there and asking for the job and then saying, now what do we do? I had some things that I thought very definitely should be done, and that was what I felt should come out of the debate. The people had a right to hear what were our plans, what were our philosophies.
Jimmy Carter says while he does not believe the debates brought him victory in 76 or defeat in 80, the debates are vital to the country.
I think they permitted the American people to make a much more informed decision on Election Day. And whether I actually gained a lot of points or lost a few, it's hard to say. I think the general consensus afterwards was that a couple of them were ties and that I may have won the third one, but you know, who knows? It's a totally subjective sort of thing. I would say that although they may not have affected the outcome of the election more than a few percentage points one way or other, even not that much, they certainly let the American public size us up better.
So when the debates between George Bush and Bill Clinton begin, it is expected that 70 to 100 million people will tune in. For the candidates, it can be the event that wins or loses the election. Bruce Hall, NBC News, reporting for Nightside.
After the Nixon-Kennedy debates in 1960, we didn't see any debates until 1976 when Ford and Carter went at it.
And this year we'll see a couple of different varieties.
Yep.
We'll be back.
Over 35 million people are dead. $1,700 cities and townships are destroyed. 6 million Jews were annihilated. War is a symphony of destruction.
Diesem Deutschland singst du! Wir heute Deutschland! In stolzer Freude deines...
Orchestrated by few and paid for by many. Now Time magazine allows you a forbidden look at World War II in a two-part video set entitled World War II, The Untold Story, free with your paid subscription to Time. We've gathered unique films from the War Department and combined them with captured enemy footage, some never seen before in public. These two exciting videos can be yours, free from Time magazine. Let Time take you behind the scenes in politics, the arts, and social issues. Call now, and you'll get 26 issues for 3 easy payments of $9.89 each. That's almost 55% off the cover price. And we'll include World War II, the video set, for free. Fly with pilots on actual fighting missions and lay low in the trenches with our GIs. Help storm the beaches of Normandy and see confidential footage of Rommel in the desert. There is a horror to the nightmare of war and a glory. Call this number now and get great savings on Time magazine and your World War II video set free. This offer won't be available for long, so call now.
Mark Barger joins us with sports. Game 1 of the National League playoffs, and the Braves began where they left off.
That's right. They put Pittsburgh away. They quieted the bats in the series last year, and they did the same thing last night. That was the story. In last year's World Series, though, the Braves' Mark Lemke hit .417, and then last night in Game 1 of the National League Championship Series, his playoff bat picked up right where it left off. Second inning against the Pirates, Doug Drabek gets stroked here. A single by Mr. Lemke to score Sid Bream with the first run of the game. Lemke also got another hit and a walk in 4 at-bats. His buddy, Jeff Blauser, also cracked a solo homer in the 5th inning, and the Braves took Game 1 from the Pirates. The final score, 5-1.
I thought Doug had good stuff. You know, a couple pitches that you give their hitters credit, they hit them. You know, he made a couple bad pitches, but that happens.
I just made a couple mistakes and got away with them to Van Slyke, but other than that, let the defense do the work. And if you throw strikes with this team, you really got a great chance to win.
And Game 2 will be tomorrow afternoon. Game 1 in the Oakland-Toronto series will be tomorrow night. Now, baseball news off the field. The Cincinnati Reds and manager Lou Piniella parted company Tuesday when the skipper rejected the team's contract extension. Piniella had managed the Reds for 3 seasons, leading them to a World Series title in 1990. This year's Reds squad finished second to the Atlanta Braves, and Tuesday Piniella said he left with no hard feelings, but the time was right to make a change.
I enjoyed the players I managed. And I learned a hell of a lot, and now we'll see if I use that experience or it goes to waste.
You kind of doubt it'll go to waste. He'll be in baseball somewhere likely next season. Meantime, season 76 for the National Hockey League got underway last night. Defending Stanley Cup champion Pittsburgh hosted Philadelphia. It was the first game for the Flyers' heralded youngster, Eric Lindros. The rookie took the ice as the second highest paid player in the league, that before his first faceoff. The only man who makes more scored the first goal of the game. The Penguins' Mario Lemieux put the defending Stanley Cup champs up less than a minute into the game. Third period, Lindros got the first goal of his career to help rally the Flyers. The game with Pittsburgh ended in a 3-all overtime tie. Elsewhere in the NHL on night number 1, it was the Caps over the Maple Leafs 6-5. The Canadiens beat the Whalers 5-1. New Jersey topped the Islanders 4-3. Again, the Flyers and Penguins fought to a tie. The Jets were 4-1 winners over the Red Wings. The Blues beat the North Stars. The Kings beat the Flames in overtime 5-4. And the Canucks knocked the Oilers 5-4. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist saying that. The Canucks.
I think you're out of time. Thanks, Mark. We'll be back.
Hi, this is Bob Gregory. It's that time of year again. Time to get out the coats. We'd like you to help us warm up a kid's winter this year by donating to Coats for Kids. If your youngsters have outgrown their coats, we know thousands of kids that need them this year. We especially need coats for small children and infants. Drop off your coats at any Tuckman Cleaners until October the 18th. All coats will be cleaned and made ready for distribution. So give to Coats for Kids. By working together, we can warm up a kid's winter again this year.
Can you tell which person has lupus? Neither can we, because most people with lupus look healthy. Many don't know they have a serious autoimmune disease because symptoms can vary. Symptoms like low-grade fever or exhausting fatigue. The Lupus Foundation of America is here to help. For more information, call your local Lupus Foundation.